Tonight, outbreak. The first person-to-person transmission of coronavirus hits the U.S.
It felt like something out of a movie.
as the deadly disease continues its spread across the globe.
Fair trial requires witnesses.
This as senators in the impeachment trial get set to vote over calling for new witnesses
We need the 4 votes.
or an outright acquittal.
I look forward to, on Friday, this being over.
Plus, another black eye for Facebook over the tech giant's use of facial recognition technology. And an African-American journalist who blazed a trail for women gets a stamp. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
The coronavirus spreading in the United States and now declared a global emergency. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Bratter. Tonight, the World Health Organization officially declaring the coronavirus a public health emergency.
This as officials here in the United States report the first case of person-to-person coronavirus transmission. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us now with more on the developing story.
John and Jenna, this newly infected person is married to a Chicago woman who got sick from the coronavirus after she returned from China, a trip to Wuhan, China, which is considered ground zero for the outbreak. This is a rapidly developing story, and here's just a little bit of perspective. Right now, there are about 8,000 confirmed cases of the disease worldwide. All but 120 are in China, and all of the coronavirus-related deaths are in China as well.
The novel coronavirus outbreak is a public health emergency of international concern.
Officials say the decision was made because of the increase in number of cases in China, increase in number of countries where the virus has spread, and questionable handling of travelers. The fast-moving virus is prompting governments worldwide to take decisive measures out of an abundance of caution. 6,000 passengers held on this cruise ship off Italy Thursday while doctors checked on 2 Hong Kong tourists running a fever. And several countries are racing to help citizens escape the coronavirus by flying them out of China, especially those in Wuhan, the disease epicenter.
We are finally boarding the plane.
A chartered flight with some 200 Americans touched down at this California military base Wednesday. Patrick Stockstill and his family were among the passengers in face masks and officials in hazmat suits.
When we first stepped on board, my jaw dropped. I've never seen a plane set up like that before. It was a wide open cargo plane, but had passenger seats in it. And honestly, it felt like something out of a movie.
But it's all too real. Those passengers will remain quarantined for 3 days, longer if they show any symptoms. There are now 6 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the U.S. Efforts to keep the outbreak in check have grown to screening checkpoints at 20 airports across the country.
Americans should know that this is a potentially very serious public health threat. But at this point, Americans should not worry for their own safety.
Now, the rare global health emergency designation will help the World Health Organization mobilize financial and political support to contain the outbreak. That'll make it easier for that to happen. Now, airlines around the world have announced complete suspension of flights to China until further notice. Even the White House has reportedly considered banning all flights from the U.S. to China, but that has not happened yet. John and Jenna.
All right, thank you, Eric. Well, some experts are pointing to China's political failures as the coronavirus continues to spread. Here now is Luisa Griva, the Director of Global Advocacy for the Uyghur Human Rights Project. Luisa, thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here.
As a human rights activist, one of your chief concerns is how the virus could spread in concentration camps, something that Beijing calls vocational training centers. Can you describe the conditions of the camps, how many people are there, and why this virus has you especially concerned?
It's a real concern. There are millions of people. One estimate is 1.8 million. It could be as many as 3 million have been in these camps. Overcrowded conditions, starvation diet, dehydration, lack of medical care, torture, and worse. In these conditions, when everyone's health is terribly compromised, what happens when an infectious disease gets into the system? That's one thing. The second thing is the government can't truly mobilize the help that's needed for all the other people who are infected, is it going to be able to mobilize help for people who are in detention?
So what happens if this coronavirus does start spreading in a concentration camp like this, where people are in such tight, confined quarters?
It could easily spread. There won't be help. And the worst problem is we won't even know. These camps are shrouded in such secrecy. The government even denies that they're detention camps and says they're vocational training centers, as if they're a normal place where people go involuntarily. So the secrecy will be a huge concern. The world may never know what happened.
Have you heard whether the Chinese have put in any safety protocols in any of these concentration camps?
Have not heard.
The look on your face says a lot.
I doubt it.
Louisa, how much can we trust the Chinese government when it comes to the coronavirus? You know, there are reports that the number of people infected there are actually much higher than what Beijing is telling the rest of the world.
It's a huge problem in a country without freedom of speech, without a free press. Government officials are under tremendous pressure not to look bad, not to make their leaders look bad, and so they withhold information. The mayor of Wuhan admitted as much actually on TV, that he didn't release information he had because he didn't have permission, and frankly he didn't say he was afraid it would affect his political career. And in the case of the Uyghurs, in the Uyghur region suffering this massive human rights abuses that some are calling crimes against humanity, the government has consistently lied about what's happening.
So, Lisa, what can countries like the United States, which has a huge global pulpit, what can they say to advance the cause for people in these concentration camps?
The U.S. government officials have been very outspoken and leading the world, in fact, in making statements of condemnation. Secretary of State Pompeo called it the stain of the century, strong words, and has tried to mobilize other governments to make statements. We would like to see the UN take action. This is actually what the UN was founded for, to prevent genocides.
Well, Louisa Griva with the Uyghur Human Rights Project, thank you so much for being with us and shedding light on this important issue.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Louisa. Meantime, in the Senate impeachment trial, it looks like Republicans are getting ready to pull the ripcord.
Senate GOP facing a decision whether to call for more witnesses or to acquit. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson joins us now ahead of the crucial vote on witnesses. Abigail, am I right hearing that Republicans appear to be on the verge of bringing a quick and sudden end to the impeachment proceedings?
That could be the case, and I realize I sound like a broken record, but the truth is we really don't know for sure yet how this vote on witnesses is going to go, and there could be many different scenarios that play out. What we do know is that Republicans like Senator Lindsey Graham maintain they are increasingly confident Trump will be acquitted this weekend, and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters earlier today that getting those 4 Republicans to vote with Democrats to call witnesses is an uphill battle. Now, I also think it's worth noting that I tried to set up an interview with the senator for Monday and was told they'll be back in their home state. So I'm not holding my breath, but I think it's looking increasingly likely that Republicans could bring that swift end to this trial this weekend.
Well, in today's question and answer session, Chief Justice John Roberts declined to read a question from Republican Senator Rand Paul. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Now, this was certainly a unique moment, but it was one that we had a heads up was coming. Now, what happened here is Rand Paul wanted to ask a question about possible coordination between an NSC official who is rumored to be the whistleblower and a House Intelligence Committee staffer. Now, he named both of these individuals in the question that he wrote out, and Chief Justice John Roberts wouldn't read it aloud, which led to this impromptu press conference from Senator Rand Paul, who left the trial and went and spoke to the media. Take a look.
It's sort of selective belief in protecting a whistleblower statute, but a statute shouldn't be such that people can use it and then nobody says they know who the person is, but anybody you say might be then all of a sudden is protected from being part of the debate.
Now, Senator Paul is basically arguing if no one knows the identity of the whistleblower, why can't his question naming these 2 individuals be read out loud?
Hey, Abigail, what about witnesses? Do Democrats still think they can change some Republicans' minds about calling witnesses?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Democrats now are even arguing that without witnesses, there is no fair trial. So therefore, Trump can never really be acquitted by the Senate because this wouldn't really be a real trial. Take a look.
Fair trial, an impartial oath requires witnesses. and that's what they should deliver for the American people.
And we will soon know if that is the case and those witnesses are called forward.
All right, Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill, thank you very much.
Well, stick around. Up next, our Faith Nation political panel takes on impeachment and what it means heading into the Iowa caucuses. We'll be right back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch. Thanks for joining us. Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Welcome back. In the run-up to the First in the Nation caucuses, the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates are preparing to pull out all the stops this weekend in Iowa.
Yeah, but some of the big-name candidates are stuck in Washington. Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson caught up with Congressman Ro Khanna, a Bernie Sanders supporter, for some insight into the senator's impeachment strategy ahead of the Iowa caucuses. Abigail?
That's right, Jenna. While Senator Sanders has been stuck in D.C. during the mandatory Senate impeachment trial, Congressman Khanna tells me that he believes their supporters are understanding that his first duty is to be a juror in the trial, and he says that the campaign feels confident heading into Monday's Iowa caucus.
I'm feeling very optimistic. The polling is great. The momentum is great. Senator Sanders and I are doing a Super Bowl party on Sunday, and of course my home district 49ers are in the Super Bowl, so we're going to have a lot of people there. I think he's going to win Iowa, and then he's going to be in New Hampshire. I think he's going to do very well there. I'm confident he'll do well in California. I really see this race now coming down to Vice President Biden and Senator Sanders.
And as Khanna mentioned, the Iowa polls are looking very good right now for Senator Sanders' campaign, leading to a few reports that there are some establishment Democrats who fear Sanders winning the nomination, including Hillary Clinton, who recently referred to him in an interview as unlikable. Here's what Khanna had to say about that.
13 million people obviously liked him enough to vote for him last time, and people in Iowa seem to like him. You don't lead the polls in these states if you're not likable and connecting. But I guess my view is that people outside there are tired of Washington and the establishment. Our President Trump won by campaigning against the Republican establishment. So I think the more attacks that Bernie Sanders faces, the stronger he becomes, because people see him as independent, as not beholden to special interests. And this country wants fundamental change. They understand Washington is broken.
And in D.C., Congressman Khanna and Senator Sanders are actually working together and introduced a bipartisan bill in both chambers that passed the House today that would prohibit President Trump from using federal funds for military action in Iran unless Congress declares war to authorize it. Take a look.
This bill would restore Congress's constitutional authority, and I worked on this in a bipartisan basis with Representative Matt Gaetz. And the idea is very simple. Before we go to war, another endless war in the Middle East, you need Congress's authorization. Now, everyone believes that Soleimani was a bad guy, that he had American blood on his hands. But I don't want us to be putting more troops in the Middle East or getting into another war, especially before coming to Congress. And this amendment stops that.
And as Congressman Khanna said, this bill has bipartisan support, and in the Senate it has bipartisan support as well. And although it's unlikely President Trump would sign it if it makes it to his desk, Khanna believes it sends a message to Trump that Congress wants him to exercise restraint when it comes to Iran.
Abigail, great interview with the congressman. You know, he obviously rooting for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders appears to be, surging in most polls in Iowa, but they're still kind of all over the place. As you get ready to head there, are there any odds-on favorites?
Well, I would say Senator Sanders looks very good. I'd also be watching Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Elizabeth Warren, and the way that Iowa does their delegates, they divide them. So what could be a likely scenario is that 3 people end the Iowa caucus, go with some delegates at the end of the night. That could, maybe only differentiate from 1 or 2 points. But I think Senator Sanders looks great, and it's going to be very interesting when people finally start voting after months of this Democrat primary.
All right, Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill, thank you very much.
And a mainstay and the star, really, of our Faith Nation political panel.
Oh, my goodness, thank you.
Chief political analyst David Brody.
Where's the check?
David, that striking moment when Chief Justice John Roberts denied that question involving the whistleblower by Senator Rand Paul. What do you make of this situation?
Well, smart move by the Chief Justice. Look, he said in 2003, back in the day when he got confirmed, I'm an umpire, right? I'm just going to call balls and strikes. And here we are. He's calling balls and strikes, and he saw something a little bit foul by Rand Paul today. And let's face it, I mean, Rand Paul was trying to be too cute by half, and John Roberts was having nothing of it. So I think it was fair game for him to shoot that question
Do you think he's going to come back at it again? Because Rand Paul's saying that he's going to be relentless getting the whistleblower's name out there.
Oh, yeah, I think Rand Paul will try again, and Justice Roberts will be there to meet him head on. Yeah, I think so.
David, we're all waiting to see if they will call witnesses. What is your sense?
Okay, well, let me tell you, I've said it's been fluid all along, and that's why I have my trusty phone here, because I've been getting 5 different emails from 5 different Senate offices, and the last one says real quick that one of my sources says Senate Republicans will prevail in the witness vote tomorrow. The other one said, don't be surprised if it's 50-50. That's another source. A 50 vote, 50 for Republicans, 50 for Democrats. These are what folks that are inside the Senate are saying tonight. That vote, by the way, should happen Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, is what I'm hearing.
So, David, what then? What happens if it's a 50-50 tie?
Well, technically, John Roberts can make that final decision. He's not going to do that. There's no way. Balls and strikes. He's the umpire. He doesn't want to be partisan. Remember, he was the guy that said there's not Trump judges, there's not Obama judges. I mean, he's really trying to be as neutral as possible. So if it's 50-50, guess what? Sorry, cue the buzzer sound effect for Democrats. You lose. Republicans win that vote because tie goes to the Republicans because they are in the majority. So 50-50 in that case would mean Republicans, there would be no witnesses. Republicans would win at that point.
30 seconds left, David. Senators still stuck in Washington, D.C. as the jurors. Amy Klobuchar, though, released her schedule today, and it looks like she's planning to be in Iowa on Saturday. What does that signal about the trial?
Yeah, it means that she's talking to a few senators on the Senate floor, and I think everybody knows that the cake is baked at this point. I think that'll probably happen, and I think this is going to be wrapped up by Friday evening. I lose the office pool, by the way, but don't worry, no betting or anything. But yeah, I mean, we always talked all along, would there be a witness vote? And if it went forward, then we would have this another 10 days. I don't think it's going to be a witness vote. And this thing is going to be game, set, match.
Before the State of the Union.
That's right.
We'll see. All right, David, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Another black eye for Facebook. Up next, what a massive fine means for the tech giant and your privacy.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up.
I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, it looks like Facebook's privacy problems are hitting a new high.
The tech giant set to pay the largest ever cash privacy settlement in a class action lawsuit to the tune of $550 million. The long-running Illinois case alleges Facebook wrongfully used facial recognition technology on people in Illinois. That means affected Facebook users in the state could see some $200 coming their way. Facebook did not admit to any wrongdoing. The settlement for the Silicon Valley titan comes amid a 51% rise in expenses in the fourth quarter earnings. The social media behemoth saw its stocks drop as much as 8%, wiping out more than $50 billion in market value. Well, to help us with what this means for you and Facebook, Dylan Gilbert, an expert on privacy issues in Silicon Valley, joins us now. He is the policy counsel and privacy lead for the Public Knowledge Group here in Washington. Dylan, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Dylan, can you explain in layman's terms what exactly Facebook is at fault for here? And how did photo labeling and suggestion tags violate biometric privacy law?
Yeah, so I think what's useful to do is go in the time machine back to 2008. The state of Illinois passed a law called the Biometric Information Privacy Act, or BIPA, which was a really forward-looking law. And what it did, there were a number of rules that it imposed, but the two that I think are the most pertinent to our conversation today were before a company could collect or use biometric information, it had to provide written notice to a customer or user describing just what it was going to be doing with this, and it had to obtain the consent of the user to use the biometric information. So a couple years later, in 2010, Facebook rolled out the suggested tags feature, which you may remember, it's hard to believe that was 10 years ago now. Wow. But what that would do would be if you uploaded a photo, let's say of you and your friends, Facebook would basically look at the faces that were in the photo and use facial recognition technology to match it to a database that they had to say, hey, we think that this person that is in the photo might be your friend X. Would you like to tag them? And so under the case, Facebook was alleged to have violated those two rules that we discussed in BIPA, which was it didn't provide the proper written notice or get consent from its users to use this technology. Right. And so now here we are today, and Facebook's paying a steep price.
Yeah, do you think Facebook is in the wrong here? They're admitting to no wrongdoing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they absolutely did not do this right. This was something that was on by default. And, you know, I think that if they had provided the right description of what they were doing to their users and provided them with the opportunity to consent to this, then I think that there would have been some users that said, this seems like a fairly useful tool tool that I would like to use. But I do think that this kind of illustrates a bigger problem that we have to think about when it comes to facial recognition technology more generally, and the real significant risks that come with the use of this technology. And frankly, given the way that we interact today in society with so much technology, so many companies that we use, it's going to be really impossible, I think, for us to fully manage our privacy when it comes to facial recognition technology, which is why I think that it's critical that laws are passed that essentially create certain uses as illegal.
All right, Dylan Gilbert with the Public Knowledge Group. We have to leave it there, but thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was rambling on and on.
Was
that
great.
okay?
Thank you, Dylan.
Okay. Thank you.
When we come back, the newest U.S. Postal Service honoree to get her own stamp. That story next.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today.
Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Finally tonight, a new postage stamp, this one featuring the face of a veteran female journalist.
And it is the image reflected on millions of television sets, or actually was, across the country that might now be on your next letter. Gwen Eiffel is the face of a new Black Heritage stamp from the U.S. Post Office. The respected journalist was seen as a trailblazer for women in the industry, the first woman with an African-American heritage to anchor a national TV program. The Postal Service starts issuing her stamp today, and I think well-deserved.
Nice to see. She's a national treasure.
Well, that is going to do it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.